Hello again, it's Paul here. Welcome back to my channel. This is my FUE hair transplant journey, and we are now at the 4-month and 3-week point. So I had it done back on the 7th of August, and things, as you can see from my last video, have changed quite dramatically over the last few weeks. Very exciting stuff, lots been going on. Big one is obviously I've coloured it now, so it's pretty much the same colour, and it's starting to look like your everyday normal haircut, which is great news. So we're going to cover that and more over the next few minutes. First things first though, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss any updates. In addition to that, I hope you all had a good Christmas under the circumstances. I know from my own Christmas, and again why things have been particularly manic, people were getting pinged left, right and centre, so it kind of, the plans would change in 1 minute to the next. Then I had my daughter staying over, then I didn't, then I was again, and yeah, there was a lot going on. So I'm in her bedroom now, by the way, so slight change of scenery. Yeah, so there's more light in here, bigger window, which you can't see from here, but there we go. Yeah, so I hope you all had a great Christmas, and those of you that are living in England, now that you're restriction free for New Year, I hope you make the most of that. Those of you in Northern Ireland, Scotland and Wales, I hope you also make the best of what you've got at the time. I'm sure things will improve in the new year, fingers crossed. Anyway, so let's go over what's been happening over the last few weeks, and let's have a look at a few other things. One thing I wanted to do with this video is go back to the very beginning, and we look at like the initial care of your implants when you get them done, and how to look after them to give them the best chance to grow into something a little bit more meaningful. Don't get too excited though, because even though the front's looking really good and it's only been just short of 5 months, as you can see the top still got a way to go, but we'll cover that later anyway. But yeah, welcome back, and here comes the rest of the clip. Okay, let's start with the usual going around the houses. So as you can see where the base of the hairline is, and you can see where it's still quite sparse. Is that the word? Sparse? So yeah, there's still a bit of, but if I lift my hair up, you can see it's actually all there. It doesn't make any difference. So it's not like a comb over, if you get my drift. You know, people have comb overs to hide very obvious bald patches, but pulling my hair back like that, you can actually see that the hair is very much growing underneath, which is quite exciting really. But yeah, as you can see, there are patches where it still needs to sort of grow and develop and that, but you know, nothing too worrying at this stage. And yeah, so if we go around the back, so as before, I mean, it still looks a bit kind of I don't know if it's just the light, because in other light it doesn't seem to look like this, but there you go. The back itself, well, you can see as well as I can, it's looking a little bit more like, well, you can see hair there definitely, and the barbers are saying that's definitely improved. But you have to remember at the back, it takes 18 months for it to fully grow, so can't complain about that really. And this side, yeah, not too bad. I think the blend wasn't too good with the barbers, but you know, it'll grow out. I'm not really worried about aesthetics at this moment in time. I'm just sort of concentrating on the hair growth itself. But yeah, I can't be too disappointed with that either way. It's looking okay. Let me know what you think. So I've mentioned in previous videos issues I've had along the way, and pretty similar to everybody else's, I would imagine. So the numb scalp was the big one, and it's almost okay now. When I'm brushing it, it doesn't feel like I'm brushing someone else's head. And although it's still a bit sort of slightly, ever so slightly lacking in sensation in certain areas, it's more or less healed now. So I imagine 6 months, as I said a couple of months ago, is a pretty accurate forecast for when that's going to be completely back to normal. The back took about 2 months to heal, but as I said, there was a woman that came in at the time of me getting my procedure, and she was complaining that she still had irritation on the back, so that might have been personal to her own circumstances, but it's rare enough. I think the back should only really be bothering you for, I would say, about 2 months. But yeah, apart from that, everything else seems to have gone well. You know, the haircut, the colouring as well. I thought, you know, it's the first time I'm properly introducing harsh chemicals to my scalp, so, you know, how's this going to go? There was a bit of apprehension there. But aside from that, everything seems to have gone really well. And my local barber has literally just gone to the Kurdistan region to get his hair done, and he's about sort of a month and a half in now, so I think I mentioned it on the last video. So he's fully up to speed, and so I get him to do my hair now. So yeah, it's really weird now actually styling it and having to think about stuff like this after how many years? 30 years of crew cuts. And head shaves. It's certainly interesting, but I'll probably keep it around this sort of length if I'm honest. But yeah, can't think of any more issues, but if you've had any issues, obviously drop them in the comments. Let me know what's been bothering you. Feel free obviously to ask any questions again, particularly with those issues, stinging, itching, sensation, that kind of stuff, and let me know what works for you. Now, in amongst all the medication that they'll give you when you leave the clinic, first things first, obviously read, because they'll tell you it all at the time, and it's all overwhelming. It's like, you know, trying to learn for the first time to drive a car, and all the information's coming in thick and fast, you're trying to keep an eye on the road, etc. So they give you a leaflet and they underline all the important bits, well, my clinic did anyway, what to take when, try and stick to it, because obviously it'll give your body the best chance of fighting any potential infection off and so on. The other thing they'll give you is a saline solution, which you are to spray for the first period every sort of 20 minutes on the area to keep it moist, and literally just pump action and give it a few sprays, and you'll just keep doing that throughout the day, and then after so many hours it goes down to 30 minutes, and you'll do that until you go to sleep that night. But I bought a new bottle of, as in a full bottle of saline solution, and I just kept topping it up, because every time this started to itch, and it did, I just sprayed that on it, and, you know, used the little medical pads to dab it off, and you'll see it's all brown and horrible and everything else because it starts to drip down your face, and yeah, but it solves the itching problem, and if you just keep doing that throughout the day, and then the next day and the next day, then that will keep on top of the healing process and keep it all itch free, and that's what sort of got me through the first couple of days, if you like. So the other thing the clinic gave me was the head strap, the adamant head strap, and this very important because, like the saline solution, they actually inject your scalp with that before they make the incisions. So as I've said on a previous video, it's important to wear this as tight as absolutely possible, even after the bandages come off. We'll talk about that in a second, because what it does, it stops the saline from then travelling down the rest of your face and swelling up, so you end up looking like a rugby ball the wrong way, you know. So yeah, but for the first 2 days you're going to be wearing it pretty much full time anyway, because at the back of it you'll have a load of these medical pads, and they tell you after the second day to basically soak them, because they'll all be at the back there, all kind of bandaged in, and you might be able to see the blood coming through from the donor area. But the trick is you'll have to soak for ages on the second day. That morning I stood in the shower, and what I thought was going to be 10 minutes, it turned out to be about an hour of just basically soaking the back, because each one of these came off in a single layer. So every time I thought I was getting somewhere, another layer came off, another layer came off, and if you've got a squeamish partner, don't ask them to help you, because they start to come off all brown, and the water's all brown in the bottom of the bath where I was taking the shower, and then slowly but surely they start to get redder and redder and redder, and in the end you're just left with a red raw patch on the back of your head. And then the first thing you have to do at that point is put this back on and basically you can guess what's going to happen as everything starts to dry and heal up as it's exposed to the air. The band at the back starts to stick to your fresh wound. So unfortunately you're going to have to soak that off when you take it off to wash your hair, and then put it straight back on again, because otherwise I took mine off at the 4-day point, I think it was, and guess what, I started to still get the swelling, so it went straight back on again, and eventually I took it off after 5 days and I was absolutely fine at that point. So yeah, it's a pain, it itches, and you know, like everything else, but it's worth it to get there in the end. Okay, once the band's off, you've got the choice of looking after the donor area. Now, this is the aloe vera gel that I used, but I found that whilst it's nice and cool and soothing initially, it's not long before it becomes sticky and it's just itchy again. So I ended up just using the saline spray, which seemed to work a lot better than this, but your skin might be different, so give it a try and see how you feel, see how you get on. It's cheap enough anyway, you can normally get this from like the Range or something like that. When it comes to washing the hair, again, I probably mentioned this on a previous video, but this is what I used. I used a jug with a small amount of water in it. In fact, it's probably a bit too much in that. So tip some out, and then basically I just took the baby shampoo, give it a good old squirt in there, fair amount, and once I've got a fair amount at the bottom, then all I do is use my hands and wudge it up. It's sort of going everywhere like, but the more you do that, the more it becomes a bit like whisking an egg white, you know. The more it becomes just fine. So once you've got more or less enough foam at that point, then take a willing specimen, your own head. In this case, I've got my daughter's Winnie the Pooh, and all you simply do is just take the foam, so you've got it on, let the water drain, and just apply the foam really gently to the scalp, avoiding touching the actual implant area. You want to avoid touching that completely from basically for a period of 2 weeks if possible. They reckon after about 10 days it's more or less there, but as you can see, you would put the foam over the area that you've had implanted without touching it, and just leave it there basically. Poor Winnie. And anyway, leave that there for a good sort of 10-15 minutes or so, and once you're happy, basically just use the same jug with normal water in it, and instead of pouring it directly on your scalp, what I was doing was basically putting my fingers above it and letting the water drain through my fingers, so that there was no pressure at all on there. And it doesn't really matter if you don't get all the soap out, because at the end of the day, the idea of having baby shampoo is it's very mild anyway. So that's basically what I did for the whole 2 weeks, and if I'm honest, I carried on using the baby shampoo pretty much to the very day. It's only recently I've started using other products, so yeah, the more chance you give it, the better it's going to be, I reckon. Right, hopefully that was useful for most of you. If, like me, at the 3-4 month point, you were reading other people's progress and thinking, that's not quite where I'm at, then have no fear, because from about the 4 month point onwards, things, as you can see, started to just come out of nowhere. So stick with it. Everybody develops at different rates, so don't worry too much if things aren't looking as good. Remember, a lot of it also is to do with your graft density, how many hairs per graft. I was one of the unfortunate ones, so most of my grafts were one single hair, the occasional double hair, and that was covering a large area, don't forget as well. So considering how many I had, 3,000 over a large area, it's not actually that bad. So if you've only got the tiny bit of the front one, you're going to look great, and I'm sure it will start thickening up in no time. So keep the faith and keep me posted as well. Feel free to drop in your comments of your own progress if you've done this already. If you're thinking about doing it, then so far I can tell you I've had no problems whatsoever, so yeah, it's all good. Yeah, anyway, so take care of yourselves, have a great new year, and I will see you again very soon.